once you can get these fabulous voices that you do, this 120 different characters, then it's really like listening to a very, very well crafted movie. I mean, it's fantastic, and it gives this huge depth to everything. And it's just amazing. I mean, I tell people not to buy the paperback, buy the audiobook.
I am Wolf, 20 years of age, and the only son of our leader Bo. Our village was in Norse, just into the Arctic Circle, on the coast, and comprised of 120 Norse people and 80 slaves from the land across the sea to the southwest. Our people were tall, fair, white-haired, with piercing blue eyes. Our existence was tough. We mainly ate fish, moose, and the occasional Arctic fox. Our biggest enemy, however, was the winter.
Good to speak with you again, Graham.
Always good to talk to Dr. Tony Miller, and I can trust you. You're a doctor. We are going to talk about the latest audiobook, but I want to get some background for people who haven't. I mean, you and I have worked on lots of audiobooks and we've done lots of these chats before, but there might be people watching who've not seen you before. Give us a bit of background on you. You're a business specialist. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I go around to quite large companies, particularly at the moment, and help them to downsize, let's get the right number of people, and to reorganize so they can take maximum benefit from artificial intelligence. And in short, I make them a lot of money.
Right. Yeah. And that, so your fee pays for itself very quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Almost in a matter of days.
Wow.
The return on investment from me is absolutely massive, but it's not matched with my fee, which is quite reasonable.
And you have written many books. Do you know the exact number?
Exactly. I've written 35 books. 19 of them are business books, and the remaining 16 are novels.
Right. And how do you manage to write so much?
Well, you're going to laugh, as you always do when I tell you this, but I actually write most of my books when I'm asleep. I go to bed with the idea in my head or the chapter in my head, and once my head touches the pillow, I can just dream it. It's more difficult with business books because there's so much factual detail to get absolutely right. But that's how it works. And the interesting thing is if I wake up in the night for a glass of water and go back to bed, I can almost finish the sentence. So it just carries on. And then when I wake up, I can remember every single word of it.
Wow, that's the bit that really impresses me. I mean, I've had freaky dreams now and again, and some of them may make okay books, but nowhere near your standard. But trying to remember it all was because some of your books are quite long. We did the Cut series, and each one of those was a considerable length, wasn't
it?
To remember that
and
story. Would you get like the book? Would you get the whole book in the night, or did you just get like a couple of chapters?
No. It's a chapter at a time, Graham.
But
it's in immense detail. There is a big downside to this, and that is particularly with the Cut series of books. You can get so into the story that I really want to go to bed about 4 o'clock so I can carry on dreaming and writing. So it does become a problem.
And do you have to focus and say, right, I'm going to do this book tonight? I mean, obviously with the business books, I'm guessing that's slightly more serious. Or does this stuff just come? Do you have to steer it?
Well, obviously, I need to do a lot of research, and I don't seem to store it in my mind in any logical sequence. But when I'm asleep, it all seems to drop into place absolutely perfectly.
Wow. You mentioned research. So you do all of your own research for all of your books? For
the business books, I hire people from mainly from University College London.
Yeah.
And I tell them very specifically what I'm looking for. I don't want any old information. I
Right.
never write anything that's more than a couple of years old,
Yeah.
certainly in the business books, because it's just completely out of date.
Yeah.
And they'll provide me with lots of research papers that they've found, and then I assimilate that into the book where appropriate.
And with a series like Cut, there's a lot of military things. I mean, there's an Osprey aircraft, and there's some quite
Yeah, yeah,
technical stuff there. Do you
yeah.
have to get bogged down in that and learn
Oh,
about that bit?
absolutely, absolutely. Because you'll find somebody who will read it and they say, "Well, it's not an Osprey XYZ; it's an Osprey XYZX."
Right.
So I'm always one jump ahead, and fortunately, I've got a bit of a link into finding out what the very latest is, even if it hasn't been produced. So I'm literally like a year ahead of what's going to happen.
Yeah. And what difficulties have you encountered? Specifically, there are some books that must be out of your comfort zone. Like there's a Russian series, isn't there? Or a
Yeah,
series
this is
based on.
my love affair with Olga,
Hmm.
and that's the latest book. And there's a series of 5 books there. Now, the issue with that is I needed lots of information about a research center, which may or may not exist, in Siberia. And I needed to know exactly how long it would take to get from the railway station by truck to this location in Siberia, northern Siberia. So I went onto Facebook and said, is there anybody who reads my Facebook page from Russia, particularly Siberia? And there was a guy who was at the first town of the journey. And I said to him, how long does it take to drive this? Which was about, I suppose, about 50 kilometers. And he said 14 to 18 hours. And he said, and you have to go in a convoy because if one vehicle breaks down, you'd freeze to death very, very quickly. And he gave me loads and loads of really, really useful information. Then we get the nutcase up here. You are an American spy. I am reporting you for, trying to gain information about this secret location, which I'm sure you know where it is by now. And this bloke went on and on. I mean, pages of it. And I would write back and say, please, please, I am an author. This place may or may not exist. And I couldn't shut him up. And in the end, I had to contact Facebook and say, you need to close this guy down. This is just beyond a joke.
He must have thought you were a rubbish spy if you were publishing books under your own name to give out this secret
No,
information.
I think he was beyond that. I think he'd had one bottle of vodka too many. And all he was thinking about was, this imperialistic Westerner dares to be looking at our aircraft. And a lot of the stuff certainly about Sikorsky and their planes and engines was very, very, very accurate. And it's not top secret stuff. You could find this out.
Yeah.
But when I finished the book, I suddenly got the wind up. I suddenly thought, crikey, if the Russians read this and read this, what this idiot's written, I'm in trouble. So
Yeah.
I sent a copy to the Russian embassy in London and also to I can never remember what they're called now, the KGB, which I think is called the FSA.
Yeah.
I sent it to them in Moscow saying, please read the book. It is a work of fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
But
should
I wouldn't
remove
accept,
suspicion. Yeah.
I wouldn't accept any takeaways that arrived on my door, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. But yeah, you'd have to test your doorknob for Novichok as well, as I thought. Yeah. Okay. Now one of your books is in Chinese. Do you speak Chinese?
This is a trick question, isn't it? Well, the ridiculousness of this, Graham, is it is published in Chinese, and they sent it to me to proofread that the translation had been done correctly.
Okay.
It was like, I mean, the index looked like it looked like my local Chinese restaurant menu with the numbers against it. So I absolutely had no idea. So I just signed it off and said it was perfect.
So it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
and
once
there's a copy of
again,
this in Wuhan University.
there
So
is.
it can't be too bad.
And which one is it? One of the business books that was just
Yeah,
translated
it's a
into
business book.
Chinese?
It's a
Right.
business book, yeah.
Yeah, for them to think you could read Chinese, surely if you could read Chinese, you'd be able to write Chinese and you wouldn't need it translated.
Exactly,
You
exactly.
know.
There wasn't a lot of joined up thinking, I think.
No, okay, all right.
Uh,
So you and I have done a lot of audiobooks together. I've lost count how many we've done because we've done a
11.
couple. It's 11,
It's
is it? We did
11.
a couple of business books. We did the Cut series, and we've
Yeah,
now done Saved, which we're going to talk about
yeah.
very, very soon. Why is it important for you as an established author to turn books into audiobooks?
Well, it's for me, it gives the whole book a third dimension. And I think with your skills, your skills at doing this, and I mean this very sincerely, Graham, if you take the Cut series, there's 120 plus voices on it.
Yeah, different
And you've
characters.
mastered all of those. You never used to be grey, actually. This is what's done
Yeah,
it.
this has only
Uh,
happened in the last 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. But this is the issue. The issue is once you can get these fabulous voices that you do, this 120 different characters, then it's really like listening to a very, very well crafted movie. I mean, it's fantastic and it gives this huge depth to everything. And it's just amazing. I mean, I tell people not to buy the paperback, buy the audiobook. I have a friend of mine in Thailand who travels quite long journeys, and he's played all through the Cut series about 4 times, and he just thinks it's fantastic.
Oh, they're amazing stories, and you just never know where they're going to go next. And I mean, with Cut, for anyone who doesn't know, it's about a soldier, the commander, but he's a young soldier, and he recruits a platoon of exceptional women. And I won't say any more because I don't want to. I don't want there to be any spoilers. But it really is. It would make a great film, an actual film. I mean, maybe an
Absolutely.
audiobook is an ear movie, but
Yeah.
it would make a great film. Have you had any interest?
Now I've tried doing this in America to try and find out, who would take it on, and it's a huge scam. Everybody seems to know Mr. Big. Everybody's prepared to make the link. Everybody's prepared to take $10,000 to do it, and nobody is prepared to guarantee that Mr. Big is going to actually listen to it. So I
Right.
mean, I've tried this with 3 or 4 different people, and it just about tore my hair out, to be quite honest. I don't know how
Right.
to do it. It just needs a per chance listening by somebody and saying, we can make a good film of this.
Because you do hear stories, that from established, filmmakers, how hard it is for them to get a film made in Hollywood. So to come at it, cold without a track record of, once the door opens, you can't lose. But just to get them to
Yeah, it's
take it
very, very difficult,
seriously
I'm
and to
afraid.
move
If
on.
you find a quick route in, please let me know.
I will. I'll let you know because I love doing them, and I could
Yeah.
do the movie trailer, in a
Yeah,
world,
yeah. Well, you could feature in it. I'll find a part for you. Trust me. It'd be like one of Stallone's films, where he gets all his mates just to pop along and read a few lines.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, it will make. I think it would make a fantastic film. And as films go, it would not be too expensive to produce. It wouldn't be a film that would be a mega money.
That's the Cut series, you think?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I
My
think
love affair
say
with Olga is a different kettle of fish because
right.
that's quite technical and it's very complex. If you ever saw the film Bridge of Spies, it's
Yes,
got a very very similar theme to this. You think you know what's going on, you suddenly find out you're looking in the wrong direction with the wrong people.
great. I love stories like that.
Yeah,
This book we've just done, Saved. You can see the title
yeah,
up there on the screen. The story of how one man saved the Norse race from extinction by Dr. Tony Miller. It is now an audiobook. Who knows, one day it may be a major motion picture.
yeah.
Um, Tell me about this one. Where did the idea come from? Do you have a Norse background? Just fill me in here.
Absolutely no idea. I've been to Norway a couple of times, and I'm not quite sure how the idea of this came into mind. I certainly didn't watch any of the current Viking type films to get
Mm.
any inspiration. And I'm glad I didn't because it would have put me right off, I think. But there was a story that this village was very far, right at the top into the Arctic Circle, near a place now you can look at it on the map called Bodo, Bodo. And they lived there. And we're talking about 35 BC, around that time. So, quite early in history.
Mm.
And there was a prophecy or a rumor that this great storm was going to come and it was just going to kill everybody. And the leader of the village, his son was the one who said, "We've got to do something about it." But the father wasn't that keen. And he sort of said to his son, "Yeah, if you want to do something, you're on your own, son. But you do it, my blessing." Now, the village only had 120 people, and it was in the coldest. If you look just inside the Arctic Circle, you'd have to be mad to go there for a start. But these people lived there, and they had two enemies: one the weather, and the other was a pack of dire wolves that were close by. And these things, if you don't know how big a dire wolf is, they're extinct now. They stand 4'6" tall, and they weigh 10 stone.
Wow.
Now, and there was between 40 and 80 of them in the woods nearby. So when these things were hungry, they used to go looking for people. So
It's
that was it. So the son decided that he would break away and try and get somewhere safe that he and maybe some of his friends could weather out this storm. And he had the brilliant idea of building a living accommodation, double skinned, on the top of a geyser. And he would
so you've
run
got the
all the heat of
therm.
the geyser through the building to
Yeah.
build a chimney and run the heat of the geyser. And everybody thought he was a bit mad, but he ended up with 25 people that wanted to join him. And he'd had an injury as a lad. He'd damaged his throat and when he was on a raiding party. They used to come over to England to raid, one of the early raiders. So his voice is very deep and croaky, but that's due to this neck injury. But he's a young guy, and the people that decided to join him were all young. And that's how it started off. They survived. It was a massive storm. You're talking about minus 45, minus 50, and they survived. His father's village, however, did not survive. They all died. And he then said, "Well, if we're going to survive, we've got to go south. Staying up here is ridiculous. We've got to get further south. We can't put up with this." And they sailed south. Because the group were mainly a mixture of men and women, he sort of thought, "Well, with 25 people, we can't survive. We've really got to be a fighting unit because if anything crops up, we've got to be able to defend ourselves." And the women all became archers and were taught to use the bow and arrow rather than the traditional swords were all big and heavy. And because they were quite young and not so big, everybody took this short sword and the women the bow and arrow. And somebody said to him, "Are we really going to take women on raiding parties?" And he came up with a lovely saying. He said, "Well, if you're killed with an arrow in your heart, does it really matter if it comes from a man or a woman?" Which I thought was really good. And
Yeah.
it follows their survival, which is continually on a knife edge because there's such a
Yeah.
small group.
Yeah. It's a terrific book. And the main character, Wolf, is he based on anyone?
No,
Right. Okay.
he's
Because
based on being his father's son. I think that's as far as it goes.
I
But
think there are some parallels between him and the commander in the Cut series because,
isn't there just?
yeah, because they're both exceptional leaders.
Yeah.
Is leadership, and maybe this goes back to your business background as well, is leadership something you've studied?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, I've written a book on it, and it's one of the key things that defines success and failure.
Right.
And if you get good leaders, and then they're very, very rare, I'm afraid. I mean, we desperately need one in our country, but I mean, they are so rare. And when you get a good leader and an outstanding leader, just it's like night and day, really.
Yeah.
And with him,
Yeah.
he was always prepared to let other people, make decisions, and he would always support them,
Yeah. I
which
think
is, a very good leadership trait.
the best thing I heard about if you know someone's a great leader, and that was a great leader will define reality and give hope.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
even if the reality is not so good, they'll define it, but they'll give
yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
And because
Well, I
you've got
think
to get
that's
it.
exactly what he did, Graham, because
Yeah.
when they were in this accommodation unit with the geezer heating it, um, and the whole place was shaking and rattling, he said very, very calmly, we'll survive this. We will be the survivors. But
Mm.
everybody knew instinctively that that wasn't going to be the fate for the village
Yeah.
because they didn't have such an idea. And the other thing he quite often happened there, that one of the women came up with this brilliant idea of making this giant bow. And came. She was a bit of a pyrotechnic, I think. And we would get resin wood and put it in a bowl. And she worked out that with this thing was big enough to fire this thing 50 meters. And he said, "Why we live in exciting times? What innovations!" But it saw them through a number of battles, where they were really successful by using this magical firebow,
Yeah.
which
It's a
was
book.
simply resin wood and a great big bow.
Yeah. It's a great book because it's got so many elements to it. I mean, you've got warriors, but you've got the struggle for survival. You've got the story of the community, the story of the leadership, and then also they had to be great seamen as well. They had to be
Yeah,
able to and
absolutely.
navigate.
Yeah,
And it is
yeah,
just an epic story,
yeah. You
and
could do it, Graham. You could do it. Always remember, if you're going from east to west, you need the sun in your back when you start off.
right,
What
okay.
happens in the middle is a bit confusing, but at the end of the day, the sun needs to be in front of you, and you're going to go in a straight line east to west.
What do you hope people get from listening to the audiobook and reading the print version of
Yeah.
Saved then? What do you
Well, I
think
really
that the
hope they
message is?
listen to the audiobook, because once again, you've done a fantastic job with that, and you've got, you've brought the characters to life.
Thank you.
I think what they get out of it is that most things in life are possible. You just need the commitment, and you need a few people around you who are of the same mind. What you
Hmm.
don't want is to surround yourself with people who are always saying, it can't be done, it can't be done. Because they're the people that are just going to make nothing happen. And the people that made nothing happen were all the people that died.
Yeah. So good lessons there for life and business as
Yeah, for
well.
sure. For sure.
Yeah, because
Because it was all about the team. In the end of the day, the reason they were successful is they walked, talked, and fought as a team. There were no
yeah,
individuals. They were all a
yeah,
team.
yeah. I listened to an audiobook once of Dr. Stephen Covey, The Seven Habits of Highly
Oh,
Successful People, and it was recorded at a seminar somewhere, and the first thing he got people to do was to stand up, and he said, "I want you to point north," and they all pointed in different directions apparently, and then he said, "Well, for those of you who don't know, north is this way," and he pointed that way, and he goes, "That's what you have to do. You all have to point the same way." And he
yeah.
said, too
Yeah.
many organizations and communities, they've all got different ideas of what the target is, and that's not going to
Mm.
work.
No,
Everybody has to be focused. And the
no.
leader defines north, and then, then that's the way you go. And it was, funnily enough, this is a book about Norse people. And that was very apparent in this one, that the
Yeah.
community they all had that same goal, not just survival, it was beyond survival. They wanted to thrive.
Yeah,
And
and
yeah,
they wanted to be a powerful group in terms of they wanted to grow, they wanted to be a big family. He refers to them always as my family or the family, which is once again very sort of inclusive. And I think that was a lovely thing in there. Really,
yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, it's terrific. It was so much fun to narrate with so many great characters and, a lot of jeopardy and it just wonderful to do. It's called Saved. It's by Dr. Tony Miller. It is the story of how one man saved the Norse race from extinction. It's available as an audiobook and Audible and iTunes or whatever it's called now, Apple thing and Amazon. Wherever you get your audiobooks, you can download it from there. So now we've done this one, and what is next for Dr. Tony Miller?
Well, I think when I've got enough money to pay for it, Graham. I don't mean that in an unkind way, but it all costs a lot of money. The book I really, really want to publish is my love affair with Olga,
Right.
because there are 6 books in that series, but
Yeah.
the first one I really like to get off the ground because it's so topical now. It's based in Russia. It's a fabulous love affair, and if you can work out how it's all going to end up in the first 4 chapters, you are a genius.
Look out for that. My love affair with Olga coming soon. Where
Yeah,
can we find
it's
out?
out now. It's
Oh,
out
it's
now.
out now. It's out now. Yeah.
This month.
Right.
Yeah.
Where can we find out more about you? Because there's probably a lot of business people been watching this thinking, well, I need to book this guy. This guy sounds like a lot of
It's
fun.
on. You just need to go to the website, which is www.tony-miller.com.
Tony-Miller.com.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, Dr. T. Thank you so much and
Yeah.
continued success.
Thank you, Graham, and thank you for making it a star production. Much appreciated.